managing expectations coming into an event like that can be really hard for people. Like it's a big event, but at the same time, it may not be your like number one priority. But still, when you race, like you always want to win, right? Like you're a racer. So Russ, how do you manage expectations so that you come into this race with like the proper expectations, but then also how do you then not like double cross yourself thereafter and kind of like say like, well, why didn't you win or why didn't you do anything like that? So can you kind of walk us through how you and kind of give us insight into your psyche and how you handle that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's never when you go to a race and you don't quite get the result you're looking for, it can always be frustrating. But I think it's important to like reflect on it immediately after you finish. And there's always silver linings. Like you need to look at what you did well out there, what you could have improved on. But ultimately, I think it's important to find the positives within a lackluster result or something. For me, like Pan Am's, I didn't get the result I was looking for, even considering it as a training race. But the weekend before, it was a really hot. I've typically struggled in the heat, but I felt like I executed a race really well in the heat. So that was a positive takeaway for me. And I just noted everything I did right in the heat and applied that to future races. So yeah, there were still some positives to take away from it. I think it's really important when you do have a bad race not to let it beat you up too much. I mean, we race so much that if you let one race bother you, it's just going to put you in this cycle and put you in this hole that it's going to make it hard to dig yourself out of for future races. So, I mean, I've been racing for professionally for over 10 years now. I've had a fair share of not so great races, and you just have to move on. Don't let it bother you too much. Just immediately move on and focus for the next one. Give yourself 15 minutes to be disappointed in yourself or upset, and then immediately reset and move on. And I think that seems to work the best.
Yeah, and I like that approach of taking what you can from it within that short period thereafter because after the race, like I tend to be very emotionally hard on myself after a bad result,
Yep.
and having an objective process to put in place to analyze the race thereafter would probably help you avoid that like period of time where you're just beating yourself up needlessly after the result.
Yeah, because definitely, like, even in your worst races, there's still going to be things that you did well, and it's important to recognize those achievements within the race, I think.
Yeah, and this is something that just like internally at our company we've been talking about, even just this morning. But there's this concept of like chasing perfection versus chasing progress, right?
Right.
And if you look at everything in terms of chasing progress, then mistakes are also, as long as you learn from those mistakes, that's progress. Like
Yeah.
it's that's getting closer to the end goal. So there's always opportunities for it for sure. Sophia, how about you? Do you have anything to add on that on managing expectations, especially when you were saying that and you're talking about the government stipend and also the likely one Olympic slot that Argentina might have to send an athlete for mountain biking? Like that's a lot of pressure. How do you manage the expectations with all that pressure?
Yeah, I think it's a interesting scenario. I haven't been doing this long enough to have ever felt that kind of pressure, you know? I think when they first even released the whole Olympic thing of how they were gonna select who goes, it was the week of nationals and, we were racing a Sunday, and then that Thursday we got the email, "Oh, hey, by the way, nationals is 30% of your Olympic criteria." And you're like, "Whoa, whoa." So, like, you race that your expectations kinda change because, yeah, at the end of the day, you wanna give it 100%, but you're gonna be a little more cautious. So, like, for me at Pan Am's, I like, the day before, I wasn't really feeling that well, so I was, like, kinda laying in bed trying to, "Okay, let's relax, let's not worry about it, you never know what's gonna happen tomorrow." And when we started, I was kind of feeling good. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna hold on, not really push it, just hide." And Danny made an attack I wasn't able to follow, and then, I was planning on catching her on the descent, but then Kelsey passed me, and we just started to lose time, and we could never quite catch on. And at one point, I was like, "Okay, do I focus on trying to win this race, and maybe blow up in the heat. That is very likely because I do not do well in the heat. Or do I let Kelsey do the majority of the work because she's being super aggressive and won't let me lead a DH? So I'm like, well, you can do all the work. It's fine by me. And, play more of a mind game, knowing that all I'm really here for is to be top Argentinian, like goal number one, regardless of what happens, that's the big goal. And it does change how you race the race because you're not willing to take those risks that could come with huge rewards. So for me, I raced a race that was like very conservative, and I timed a sprint at the very end, and I was able to get by Kelsey when she did the majority of the work. And after the race, I had to go to a bush and I like puked for a good like 5 to 10 minutes, and I was like, I have never felt so bad within like my body. Is like, I think the heat, the pressure, I was just so overwhelmed with like, oh, like what is happening? Like, I don't know. I think it's, something I've been working with my coach, and I need to like keep reminding myself is that, yes, we have this really big ambition of turning me from a Cat 1 racer to an Olympian in 5 years with the Olympics being postponed. But at the end of the day, becoming an Olympian or not doesn't define who I am, and it doesn't define the type of racer I am. So is kind of keeping that in perspective that if I make it to the highest level, amazing. But if I don't, I'm still going to continue in this path of, trying to progress and become a better cyclist at the end of the day. So I think it just gets hard because a lot of people have this, this dream of, I want to be an Olympian. And, for me, it's a goal. It's nothing I've ever dreamed of because I didn't grow up watching the Olympics or knowing what mountain bike racing was, or really just having any clue about elite level sports aside from, soccer down in South America. So I think as an athlete, we're so accustomed to attaching ourselves to results and, I was able to go to a World Cup and I have done X amount of world championships, but, at the end of the day, we're just racing in circles in a dirt field. So got to keep it all in perspective, and for sure easier said than done. And I got to keep reminding myself of that. But, it's quite the process, and it's something that, us elite level athletes kind of forget to keep in check quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, a lot of us amateur athletes listening to this many times our circumstances aren't certainly that dire, or that we don't have that high bar to reach for. But I gleaned a lot from your insight, and thanks for sharing that too, because there's this external perspective. Thanks to both of you for sharing that, where you're not fully satisfied in your results, or you struggle at times, because there's this external perspective that pro athletes are this impenetrable force of success. So it's always nice to have insight into the reality.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.
If you think I have better hair than Jonathan, give it a thumbs up. If not, leave a comment.
My hair is better than his.